I'm going to open up this regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for Cabarrus County of the May the 17th, 2010 meeting. At this time, I welcome everybody who's in the audience as well as who is viewing on TV. I would like, right this time, I'd like everybody to stand for the presentation of colors by the Air Force Junior ROTC Northwest Cabarrus High School.
How about peace?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I call on Reverend Chuck Halapalas from the Jackson Park United Methodist Church for the invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you for this body of people who have been placed in this position to serve our community. Thank you for their willingness to serve. Help make decisions that will better the lives of all the people of our county. Guide them, Lord, as they meet to discuss the issues that affect the lives of their constituents. Open their eyes and hearts to see the needs of the people of our community. May they seek to do what is right and govern with your guiding hand. Grant them wisdom and grace as they meet tonight. May they work in peaceful and in an efficient way. Thank you for the authority that you have given them. May we honor and respect them as they work to make our country a better place to live. Bless them, their families, and our community. May we draw ever closer to you in all that we say and do. In Jesus' name, amen.
The young men from Northwest would come up, introduce themselves, and let us, we obviously know you're from Northwest, or going to Northwest, but tell us what grade you're in, please. And when you finish, if you go over to your left, my right, Commissioner Cabarrus has a pen for you.
Sir. Hi, my name is Cadet Master Sergeant Connor Holcomb. I am a sophomore. It is my second year in the program, and I ran track for the school.
Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evan Hobb. I'm a sophomore at Northwest Cabarrus High School. This is my second year in the program. I'm 16 years of age, and I play high school baseball at Northwest, and we were #1 in the SPC conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cadet Senior Master Sergeant Zachary Robinson. I'm a sophomore at Northwest Cabarrus High School, and this is my second year in the program. After high school, I plan to attend the United States Air Force Academy.
Hello, I'm Cadet Anthony Orfici. I am a Master Sergeant. This is my second year in the program. I am a sophomore, and after college, after high school, I plan on going to the Air Force.
Thank you. We have before us the agenda with, there should be a couple of items as add-ons. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at the additions, but if you have, we have a motion to approve the agenda with the add-ons.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. And under C1 on page 43, it is our distinct honor to receive an award and the cooperative extension. And at this time, I would call on Dr. Sobrero, if you would please come forward, and Commissioner Minot, if you don't mind receiving the plaque from Dr. Sobrero. I don't know if that microphone, you can move it down if you'd like to, whatever you're comfortable.
Good evening. It is an honor to be here this evening to present the Local Government Award to the Cabarrus County Local Government. The Office of Extension Engagement and Economic Development each year presents an award to the local government entity, and I might say the best local government entity that partners with NC State, that models mutually beneficial relationships that are the hallmark of a truly engaged university. Cabarrus County empowers cooperative extension to deliver relevant, cutting-edge educational programs. It allocates resources for employees to train volunteers who strengthen the community and change the lives of the people. This partnership is particularly strong surrounding the local food initiative and movement across the state. In fact, today when talking with Dr. Ed Jones, he just told me about the major leadership in this community around local foods. And this is where Cooperative Extension has been charged with creating and maintaining a beginning farmer program that includes a county-owned 30-acre incubator farm where infrastructure is provided in the beginning, with the beginning farmers, and Extension provides the oversight and the training. Extension is also involved in the construction of a slaughter facility where funding from North Carolina Agriculture Development and the Farmland Preservation Trust Fund, Food Policy Council, and a community food assessment. Cabarrus County government believes in the partnership of NC Cooperative Extension and North Carolina State University. It is with great pleasure today that I present this Local Government Engagement Partnership Award, and it says on this, given in recognition of visionary leadership and modeling mutually beneficial relationships with community and higher education partners. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and I was thrilled when Jay called and asked if I would come down and receive the plaque, because this is a love of mine, and the preservation of our rural part of our county and the increase and all of that. This is a wonderful example of government doing the right thing in cooperation with the university system, the local cooperative extension. It's economic development. It's creation of jobs, it's healthier living, it's preservation of our rural areas, and all of those things are just what we're all about. And I know that the commissioners and I are very proud of this award, but we're not the ones who did the work. The ones who did the work need the recognition. And I know there are far too many to call by name, but there are two that I would like to mention. One is Debbie Voss, the head of the Cooperative Extension Service, and also our county manager, John Day. I think they have certainly been behind this, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Thank you.
Dr. Sobrero, just before you leave, just to let you know, tonight we're going to be looking at and possibly appointing a food policy council.
Great.
We've got a record number of applications. I believe it was 32? 38, I think. 38 applications. So we're going to be doing that. And you know, we get a lot of inspiration from the ECA ladies. They do a tremendous job in the community, and without that, we would certainly be missing a great deal. So thank you for that.
That's great. So you just continue to lead the way, right?
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Under A1, we have the approval or correction of the minutes. Those were previously sent out. Is there a motion to accept the minutes, or is there any corrections that need to be done?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to accept the minutes or approve of the minutes. We have a second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next is informal public comments, and this is the opportunity for anybody to make 3 minutes in comments, and we have some cards that I will call on, and the 3 minutes, you'll be designated that at 1 minute, I believe it is, it turns to yellow and then red after 3 minutes, so that you know your time is up. At this point in time, I would call on Mrs. Jessica Juba. If you please come forward, tell us where you live, and we'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you.
Hello. Again, I'm Jessica Juba. I live at 2875 Eagle View Place in Concord, North Carolina. I am the owner of Bella, the pit bull that was shot and killed a couple of weeks ago in our neighborhood. And our concern that we would like to address with you all today is there's a lot to our story, and the media, as you know, has had it out there a good bit. And they're very limited on their time that they have, but there's so much more to be heard about our story. There's a lot that went wrong that day. There was a gun shot in a neighborhood full of children. There's no report of it. My fiance was falsely arrested with less than 24 hours after this happened, set at an excess of $10,000 bond. There's been an abuse of power in this whole situation. And I'm asking you guys to take it serious about really what went on that day, because the information that you guys are getting from your sheriff's office and from the police officers that were there that day is false. We have mounds of evidence and proof of exactly what went on that day, and the way things ended weren't right, and changes need to be made. And when I talk about changes, the animal control officer that shot our dog is still in training to shoot a trank gun. They say that he's the only animal control officer out there that is not licensed to shoot one. So why is he out on calls? He shouldn't be able to respond to these kind of calls. He should be behind a desk until he can. There should be better training with regards to how to handle animals. Our dog was scared. She was running away. He shot her in the back in front of children as she was running away through a neighborhood. Children reported going to school, and we've got comments from teachers of how distraught they were coming to school seeing this dog murdered this way. It's affected our family, it's affected our lives, and something needs to be done about it. And it can't be just swept underneath the rug because these guys that were responsible for their actions that day wear a badge. And we are willing to give you as much information as we have to make sure that the full picture is looked at, because something has got to be done. We've heard horrible stories from many other families where they've had the same tragedy happen, but the difference with our case is we have proof and we have evidence of what really went on that day. The people that wear badges, in our case here, to be quite honest, they don't have the right to serve and protect our communities. And if you want to see reasons why, I can provide it to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jeff Daniels.
My name is Jeff Daniels. I also live at 2875 Eagle View Place here in Concord, North Carolina. Thank you for allowing me this time. I just want to take a minute and read an excerpt from one of our witness statements that was on scene that day, if I may. I firmly believe that the situation should have never resulted in her death. At no time in the 45 minutes to an hour that I was outside witnessing the event did I ever feel that she was a danger or aggressive to any person out there. There were kids not 20 feet away playing basketball outside. Families walking up and down the street. People outside in their yards nearby, and at no point did she ever charge anyone. If anything, she was running away from the people attempting to catch her. She was scared. She at many points would stop to look at the people chasing her to see if they were her owner. I believe that this has been another breed of dog, such as a Labrador or a Golden Retriever. The words dangerous or aggressive would have never been used, and a gun certainly would not have been pulled on them. This experience has questioned my belief in the system that we currently have in place for animals. I believe, I'm sorry, this was an avoidable tragedy. I'm begging you to look into this further. We have undeniable proof of what happened that day, but it seems like nobody wants to listen. And I'm just asking you, please, look into this further. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Taylor.
I'm Scott Taylor, 3372 Smith Farm Road, Matthews, North Carolina. The rain tonight is just a foreshadowing of the deluge that is about to be upon this county. As Mr. Caruth put it in his email to Manager Day, this is the responsibility of the sheriff, but soon it will flood over into our jurisdiction. As Patty Beaker said, it will continue to mushroom and create consequences far and beyond what anyone is expecting at this point. The Board of Commissioners is in a unique position to work to find resolution in this matter. I urge you to act quickly and proactively to address the systemic flaws in the Sheriff's Department that caused this to occur in the first place. In the upcoming days, I will be submitting numerous requests to the Sheriff's Department and other county agencies. I'm expecting full, prompt fulfillment of all the documents and records I request. 2 weeks ago, Sheriff Riley stated that he had seen no wrongdoing in the part of his deputy and that his investigation was nearly complete. When can we expect to see this after it's been reviewed? The violations of law in this case, including the trampling upon of Mr. Daniels' U.S. and state constitutional rights, has not gone unnoticed by your constituents and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, you can have the tsunami wash over this community, or you can start by building a big boat. I was informed today that in upcoming days, this is going to be carried on CNN in a two-part thing. Animal control has been requested for comment and has not done so at this time. We've already been on nationally syndicated the Alan Handelman radio show. I'm sure that all of you have received a very own deluge of emails from the community. For that, I can't make an apology. People are outraged. I know that you don't want to see them so much anymore, and I urge you to do what you need to do as best you can to try to right this. Now, our mission is to make sure that this never happens again. Not in this community, not in this state, not in this country. We are fighting hard. We've got 50,000 thereabouts supporters online already. Many of you may have seen the ads that are already beginning to appear. Bumper stickers are coming. We are going to make sure that everybody out here knows about this. Some of the emails you've received from Namibia, I'm getting copied on them as well. People in Namibia know about this. How many of us can find Namibia on a map? This is a very big situation, and it's going to make the world a better place. We depend on y'all to help make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next we have is Ralph Smith. Mr. Smith? Ralph Smith, Jr.? Okay.
My name's Ralph Smith. I live at 5305 Winton Street, Kannapolis, and I'm here about the fire department change for Annville area, and I support this in hopes of better service and safety from my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next we have is Mr. Larry Marlowe.
I'm Larry Marlowe. I live at 664 Odell School Road in Concord. At April meeting, y'all discussed under new business item G4, BOC County Government Office Complex. You were discussing moving to upfit the 7th floor and move part of services over there, one of them being the Board of Elections. I hope you realize that if you move it to the 7th floor, a lot of seniors, we have a sometimes hard time walking a long distance, and coming down that hill and going back up, it'd be difficult. And if you could, I think the guy that owns the creamery suggested that he might work out a deal with y'all up here where it's, if you put it on ground level, it'd be a lot easier for the seniors. And I talked to the director today of the board elections. She said they do have a lot of seniors coming over here to the office to vote, and a lot of them are handicapped. So when y'all decide where you're going to move it, please consider putting it on ground level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Next we have is Mr. Bob Ritchie.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished commissioners, Mr. Cook, Mr. Day. I'm Bob Ritchie. I live at 6561 Rocky River Road, and I have the pleasure of serving as chairman of the Cabarrus Soil and Water Conservation District. I came to speak tonight on your agenda item tonight, item G2. You guys are going to be reviewing the proposed budget for the year 2011. I'd like to start with appreciation for Commissioners Minot, liaison with our board. I'd also like to thank Manager Day, Deputy Manager Mike Downs, and Commerce Director Jonathan Marshall. I know it's been really tough here over these last few months. A lot of tough decisions have been made, and those are, I think, are going to continue, at least in the short term. But I am here to kind of show the district board's appreciation for the cooperation that we've had over the last couple of months, but at the same time, maybe echo the fact that we need to strengthen our partnerships, not only with the county, but with our state partners and our federal partners as well. What I would really like, if there's any way possible, I know it's a tough deal, but I would ask for the commissioners' consideration and budget proposals as far as the district will be concerned in plan year 2011. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Next matter we have is under the addition there on the backside of the.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
I know that we ordinarily do not discuss these presentations, but I think in light of the situation with the animal and things that have been going on, I think the public is going to read our non-response. And I just wondered, when will we take this up, or when will we get a report?
We could, well, the report, I don't know a time frame in regards to the report, and I would turn that over to Mr. Cook. He may have gotten anything current, but what I understand is that once an investigation is completed, it's going to be reviewed by Mr. Cook, and then it's going to be released to the public. And I will turn it over to Mr. Cook as to a time frame that's estimated in that regard.
I can't give an exact deadline on that, except to say that my goal is to have that released to the public by the end of this week. I think that's really about as much as I can say about it at this point.
Okay. And when you talk about an investigation, it can take on many different meanings, so that until I look at it, I have no idea what actually is being investigated. Is policy, procedure, actions, so that until we look at it, until we see what's going on, I won't know that. And what I was going to do is afterwards, after tonight's meeting, is contact Mrs. Juba and Mr. Daniels about the information that they have, so that we can, if we can get copies of that, that could be something we could look at as well. So we make certain we have both sides of the picture.
Thank you for that. I just wanted the public to know that we are not just sitting here ignoring this.
Right. Thank you. Going on to old business under E1 is the request for clarification on Section 3.2 of the incentive grant for CellGuard. This is page 169 of our agenda. And I will turn it over to Mr. Cook at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. In the agenda, under the summary of the action, I've pretty well, I think, hopefully, pretty well spelled out what the request is here tonight. When the board met on April 19th, it approved the incentive grant agreement with CellGuard, and the document that was in the packet that evening was a draft document. It wasn't one that had been completely agreed upon with reference to the wording in it. And specifically, one paragraph that was still a matter of discussion with the attorneys for CellGuard was the provision that incorporated Section 3.2 of the county's incentive grant program. And I didn't include that provision of the program because in the document itself, which is attached to the agenda item, the section in the agreement with CellGuard actually tracked the language of Section 3.2 of the program essentially verbatim. But the net effect of Section 3.2 is to make sure that the county nets the same amount of taxes in each year of the grant as in each subsequent year of the grant as it does in the first year. And just to use a simple example, if the tax amount is, say, $100,000 and the grant amount is 85%, then in the first year, $85,000 would be granted to the company, and the county would retain $15,000. That works fine with reference to real estate. With reference to personal property, such as equipment and machinery, furniture and fixtures, it doesn't work quite the same way because most of the personal property does depreciate after the first year. And so the amount that is paid in taxes on a reduced assessed value in each of the subsequent years is less than the first year. So that the net effect under the normal rules of arithmetic is that the percentage that is being granted is actually less than the agreed initial percentage. And in fact, I attached a memo from the CellGuard attorneys that shows how they felt that would apply to them in this particular circumstance. And I did not check their arithmetic, but I believe it's accurate because that's essentially the way it would work. So what they are saying is that, you know, we want 85% of the taxes that we pay in each of those subsequent years, and that they would like to not have the language that incorporates Section 3.2 put into the incentive grant document. You may recall at the meeting last month that I did mention that they had told me that afternoon that they did not want that provision included. There was really no discussion about that when the board voted. So Mr. Day and I thought that we should seek your clarification on that and just make sure that the vote, or to make sure what the vote in fact did contemplate with reference to that specific provision. I can tell you that based on what the board did say in your discussion about the vote last month, that those provisions, particularly relating to jobs and the retention of jobs in the county, all that has been included in the document, and that's been agreed to with CellGuard. So that part specifically has been taken care of. There's just this one particular provision that we wanted to get some clarification on.
So they have agreed to the jobs, and they are tying the job, or they are agreeing to tying the jobs into the incentive.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've taken care of all that.
And what's before us is whether we accept their proposal of striking or modifying 3.2 in our grant policy.
That's correct. And one other thing, they do acknowledge that under the way that our tax assessor assesses personal property, that the value of the personal property does decrease due to depreciation in the subsequent years. And so they realize that the amount of the grant in actual dollars will be less. But their contention is we want it to be 85% of whatever that number is in each subsequent year. So it will be actually less tax dollars that are granted back, but they just want the percentage to remain fixed.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Cook after my questions?
I fully understand what they're trying to say. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've already approved it to them, to grant this to them. If that's what language they need in that to guarantee the 85%, then I don't have a problem with it.
Any other comments? I think the big thing is that when we tie it into jobs, the jobs are coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that, what nobody knows, nobody has a crystal ball on, is that although the the personal property depreciates, the real property, in essence, should appreciate, and whether that's a wash or a greater turnaround, or greater in evaluation of the real estate, I'm not certain about that, but I certainly think that's going to appreciate. So that I think that when we're really talking about over the long haul is a wash at worst, and probably still a positive to the county, especially when it's tying to jobs. So if I don't hear anything differently, then I think that with the jobs being in there, the modification of 3.2 would be fine to take that out of the provision, or to modify it to where it does not, to account for the depreciation. That the depreciation will go down, and then in year 2, maybe less net, but it's no benefit to the company, nor is it a benefit to the county. We're both at the same position.
That's correct. If that's a consensus of the board, I will so notify Selgard, and we'll wrap up the document.
Okay. Anything? We do not need to take a vote on that, but I just wanted to make certain we're all on the same page.
Thank you.
Okay. Next matter that we have is going to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion, we have a second. We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next matter we have is under new business G1, which is found on page 72, and that's the approval of the proposed changes to the Odell, Enochville, and Kannapolis rural fire districts, and request for a public hearing for this evening. At this time, I call on Mr. Langer, if you will please come forward and present it to us so we can then have a public hearing.
Good evening. We're here before you this evening for a public hearing on the fire insurance tax district boundary changes of the Odell, Kannapolis rural, and Enochville Fire District. The boundary changes will result in lower fire taxes for the current residents of the Enochville Fire District in Cabarrus County, and lower insurance premiums for any resident within 1,000 feet of a hydrant. It is important for all residents affected by these boundary changes to know that there will be no interruptions in service, as we feel these changes will provide a greater level of service. If approved, this change would take effect July the 1st, as the current Enochville contract will end June the 30th. Maps have been available for public review since March the 15th in our office. We've had approximately 5 phone calls asking questions about the change, but no visitors to review the maps. We ask at the end of the public hearing that the board approve the recommended insurance tax district changes and amend the current county code of ordinance, Article 3, Special Acts, and replace the written descriptions of the fire district with the GIS tax parcel generated maps, and move them to Chapter 34 of the county's code of ordinance. With that said, Mr. Chair, I would ask that you open the floor for any further public comment.
we have any questions for Mr. Langer before he takes a seat? Any comments, questions? Okay. I'm going to open this up for public hearing. Is anybody who would like to speak for or against this ordinance amending the code of ordinances as it relates to these fire districts? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one comment. I think we all may have received it by email this morning from Wanda Broadway. I don't know whether...
I have not received anything.
Okay. Just me, okay. She did have a concern. She wanted to share a concern the fire engine they bought, and that they took up a large amount of debt on it for the Enidville Fire Department and didn't want to be left holding the bag because the county had agreed to help pay for it. But I have talked to Mr. Smith and our emergency management director and understand that that was not the case, that we did not agree when they bought the fire engine. There, in fact, it's in the written agreement, I believe, that we do not make those kind of agreements with our volunteer fire departments. So, but anyway, she wanted to make sure that got shared tonight.
Okay. And well, let's make it clear. We do not, and we have not agreed to help in any way, shape, or form in funding for that new fire truck, correct?
Right.
Okay. Any other comments, any other questions from this board? Do we have a motion to adopt the ordinance, amending the code of ordinance as it relates to the Odell, Enidville, and Kannapolis rural fire districts? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And G2, we have a presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2011 Cabarrus County budget, which we've been awaiting with bated breath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You either have or will very shortly receive your copy of the budget. They're all down there. And it's also available online at the county's website and will be available in hard copies at the public libraries for review. The tax rate remains unchanged at 63 cents. The staff looks forward to helping you go through the budget at our work sessions on May 25th, 26th, and 27th.
And for this board to understand or not understand, but remember that we have on the 25th is basically a presentation where we will have it broken down. The 26th is actually presentations by various agencies. I know Rowan, Cabarrus Community College, Kannapolis, Cabarrus County School System, DSS, Department of, CHA, Cabarrus Health Alliance, EDC is going to be coming so that we have that. And then on Thursday, we will wrap up with, or potentially wrap up with, whatever questions that we have or discussions that we have after we've had the presentation so that everybody knows the game plan. It starts at 3:30 each day, and except for Wednesday, on Tuesday and Thursday, we plan to conclude by 6:30. On Wednesday, we plan to conclude by 7 o'clock. Okay?
Okay. And if I could add a comment, Mr. Chairman, that the public is, understand the public is fully invited to these meetings, and we always have a great turnout for them.
Standing room only.
Standing room only. But if you look at this, is the most important thing that we do as a Board of Commissioners every year. This provides the funding for, the vast majority of this goes to human services and to our education systems. We have folks here tonight from Cabarrus County Schools even, and that is so important that people come out and hear that, or at least if you go to the county webpage and you can look at that budget and you can find on there. And also, as I put this challenge out every year to folks as well that may be upset because taxes are too high, you can't cut taxes without you cut spending, and you're more than welcome. We have every expenditure, every line item is posted on the website as well. I'm open to anybody has anything they would like to see that needs to be, they can see that can be cut, that they recommend. We take those recommendations as well when we go through these budget hearings. So it's the time for the public review. Our department heads, county manager has put the budget together, and it's the time now that we get to look at it between now and mid-June, have a public hearing on it, and so it's time for the public to weigh in on what the budget looks like.
Thank you. Yeah. Next matter we have is G3, is the approval of project applications for the potential debt issuance via qualified construction bonds for Kannapolis City Schools and the Cabarrus County Schools. This is found on page 91 of our agenda.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we do need to set the public hearing for the budget.
Today we do that, or we do that after we have our presentation in the 25th, 26th, and 27th?
That's what I have in the agenda.
Okay.
I move we set the public hearing for June
21st.
21st at 6:30, or?
We have a motion and a second to have the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2011 Cabarrus County budget on June the 21st, 2010 at 6:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as possible. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on that topic? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is, we'll go back to G3, which is the discussion about the qualified school construction bonds from Kannapolis City School System, as well as the Cabarrus County School System Board of Education. Mr. Day.
And as we discussed at the work session earlier this month, these are structured to be essentially no-interest bonds to do some school renovation or improvements. And with the budget that you'll be looking at very soon, being as austere as it is, this could be the, really the only funding available to do these projects. We have worked closely with the Local Government Commission, which has worked with us in delaying the implementation of a sinking fund to pay off these no-interest bonds for a period of 5 years that we hope will coincide with our return to reasonable revenue growth. There's a great deal of information in here from Kannapolis City Schools. All the resolutions and applications are included along with a list of the projects. Subsequent to the last meeting, the Cabarrus County School System met, and there is a list of projects that they are recommending. The application does require an inclusion of the proposed projects. That's not to say that those projects can't change between the time of this application and the time that we actually sell these, which will probably be sometime in December. And that's also assuming that there is interest in the market for these and we are able to secure these no-interest funds. This is a new structure to this type of bond, and none have been sold using that structure yet. We think that there will be more interest in this type of structure than there was in the previous structure, which was which I think there was no interest at all in our state in those bonds. So, as I said, this will come back to you. It's not the final action that would be required. If you feel as though there needs to be additional discussion with school boards about the projects for inclusion, I think you have that opportunity. There is a deadline of sometime in June, I know, June 15th, to have these submitted. So certainly you have the opportunity to work on that between now and then, or it could be done subsequent to the application.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Day at this time? We do have, I want to welcome at the Cabarrus County School Board Chairman, Mr. Wayne Williams is present in the audience tonight. Thank you for coming. Dr. Shepard from the Cabarrus County School System is present as well. We have y'all's list. I know that y'all are here, quite a few. I didn't know if y'all wanted to say anything or ask us anything or modify or anything about the list. You don't have to, but given the opportunity.
Just to say that so many times we come before you with a request, and often we don't get to come before you and say thank you. I just want to tell you that our school projects that you funded, capital projects for this year, are moving along on schedule, and our new facilities there. This list of requests for capital needs, we truly appreciate your giving consideration to it. We do have the list before you. We can answer questions if you have questions about specific items, perhaps. I brought a good number of staff members with me, but if you don't have questions, then we're here just to thank you.
Dr. Shepard, I always have questions, so.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll do our best.
I noticed that there was, and I was pleased after viewing Central Northwest, and Concord is on there as well. The listed projects, have those been discussed with the principals to and interact with them as to, basically they're in the trenches, and I didn't know if that's been discussed with them.
Yes, sir, it has been discussed, and also when you and Chairman Williams and I were able to tour those facilities, they gave us a prioritized list of projects, and we have followed that list fairly closely. Okay. There are other items, technology infrastructure items, and heating and air conditioning things that we've, in addition to those items that we saw on those days, but we've included those items, yes, sir.
Okay, good. And also, I know that we've been hearing, or I've been hearing, maybe talking to myself, but Royal Oaks was a concern. I'm not saying it was, has been voiced as a concern, but is not on the list. Is that building in good shape? Is it, everything can be better than what it was, but is it, for all intents and purposes, is it in good shape structurally?
I don't feel qualified to answer that it's in good shape structurally, but I would say that we have over $20 million in needs, and you have $11 million in front of you. So Royal Oaks is in great need of help as well and improvements. But these are the lists. This is the list that we provide for you, and it is our highest priorities.
Okay. And okay, good. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Again, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on this topic? Do we have a motion to approve the qualified school construction bond applications for Kannapolis City Schools and Cabarrus County Schools, and authorize myself to execute them on behalf of the board?
So moved.
We have a motion, and I'll take the Commissioner Minus as a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. The next that we have is G4, is the Board of Commissioners 2010 legislative agenda, which is found on page 123. Mr. Day.
I did, I will go back to the meeting that you had earlier this month. The board charged the chairman, vice chairman, and I with reviewing the many items on there and making a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. After some discussion and considering that it is a short session and there will be limited opportunity to have any sort of local bills done, we simply recommend that the board endorse the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners agenda and pursue that. Of course, we will keep up with everything that happens during the course of the General Assembly. Always something comes up that action is needed on. We will often our NCACC helps us and points those things out when they arise. We also try to watch them at the staff level. So our recommendation then to the board is for you to adopt the NCACC legislative agenda.
I think two things we need to be aware of is if this is going to be a fast-moving legislative session, I believe, other than years past. So we got day-to-day paying attention to what's going on is huge. Number one. Number two is, since the long session is coming up in January, I do believe that we need to be meeting or discussing this come November and December of this year, so that we're hitting the ground running in January as opposed to discussing it when we typically discuss it during our retreat. So that I would just ask staff to remind us and get it on our agenda to talk about in November and December, so we can start fine-tuning our agenda, legislative request for next year for the long session. Do we have any, Commissioner Caruth?
I just wondered if including that agenda was a 30% pay raise for all risk management employees at the association.
No.
Okay. I can tell you, though, add to that, I think I'm still kind of the legislative liaison for our board, since I've kind of got up there a little bit, but that I think the flavor, from my understanding in Raleigh, is that, and I guess it probably has to do with some of the election climate this year, is that the more time they spend up there, the more chances they have to step on it. So they're actually I think that this session is going to be extremely short. I've heard that they're trying to get business done as quick as they possibly can and get out of town.
So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda, the legislative agenda, as we have it here, listed items 1 through 9? And excuse me, that would include the North Carolina NCACC recommendations as well. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries unanimously. I believe that takes care of all of our new business. Is that correct, Mrs. Honeycutt? Thank you. Now we have H1 is the appointments of the Food Policy Council. That is found on page 148 of our agenda. And we have listed, here is a handout that we've gotten, if everybody would like to look at it. Mr. Day.
If I might, all of those who submitted applications are listed in supplemental information H1. What you've been passed along, or what's been passed out, are recommendations from the chairman and I of those to be appointed. You'll recall when you created the Food Policy Council, the text of that did describe the process by which the chairman and I would screen and make recommendations. So that doesn't mean you have to accept them, but so those names that are highlighted in yellow are who we recommend to fill those positions, which the 21 positions of the Food Policy Council. Those that are highlighted in green are to be alternates, I'm sorry. These are cover a wide range of professions and the general public. They give an excellent representation that we think will be very useful in furthering the purpose of this council. Oh, one other thing, administratively, we would ask you to allow us to administratively set the terms for these because they need to be staggered, and rather than going through all that, we thought we could just handle it, as I said, administratively.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, if I could, propose something, because I know that I've just had a chance to go quickly through them one time, and I appreciate because this is good to start with the recommendations. And I wondered, since we're obviously going to be meeting next week with the budget, if we could table this until, or do the final approval next week and appointment next week. Yeah, that way we have time to look through them a little bit more and get them a little bit better. So I'll make that as a formal motion, then I guess we need to do that. Or can we just back it up since we're going to be recessing this meeting?
We should, we're not going to recess this meeting.
Well, we will need to.
Okay.
To the 25th.
We may be recessing this meeting so that we can take this up then. The idea is that there was 21 names that have been listed, and I'll be the first one to tell everybody, all the applicants, it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
It's greatly appreciated. I spent the better part of Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon looking over the applications, and then this afternoon it came, I was very impressed, and I'm very pleased that we've got this number of people that are interested in this, number one. Number two is to pare it down to 21 is very difficult, so that you'll see in highlights 21 names that are highlighted in yellow.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see 2 in green, and the reason why those are in green is alternate for the idea that once the 21 meet and hopefully the 23 meet, that everybody can attend the meetings. However, as with my schedule, I may think I can do something once I get to the meeting and realize the time commitment, I need to step back or maybe not take the role that I anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why, sort of like the 2 alternates, and then we can pull from the balance if more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concept, or that's the thought between the two, the difference in highlights. But we had some very good applicants, very good qualifications, and we can certainly wait until next week to actually make the appointment. My preference is to do it on Tuesday the 25th as opposed to the 27th, because they need to be notified and hopefully get this started. So if we can put that, Mrs. Honeycutt, on the 25th, please, ma'am. But thank you for everybody that has filled out an application.
I've really been surprised from talking to some folks myself about how much interest there is in this, just getting involved in this. I mean, and I'm just gaining more and more momentum as we go along. So
I just hope the group doesn't come up with a let's ban the toys and Happy Meals.
That's my only.
It may not be banning the toys, it may be banning the other.
I hope they don't do that either.
The next we have is, we do have a report in here from the Tourism Authority. And I will, at our last meeting, at the last CVB meeting, there was a unanimous vote to expand the board to 12, asking that it be expanded to 12. And the reason why is that with the diversity that we're getting with restaurants, with various hoteliers, with various attractions, that the need to get to 12 is to expand the board to have different views as to different interests, so that they're going to be requesting our support in doing a local bill to expand to 12. We would still appoint 3, the chamber would appoint 3, and then the CVB would appoint 6, and all those would be on 3-year terms, so that, just to let y'all know. In regards to the applications, we've heard a little bit tonight about the Food Council, and I think that's very important. We also have some other boards that are very important to the county, and I would ask that you go to our website to look into your possible serving on some of these boards. I think it's very important that we get good representation throughout the county, and it's very important to us. So I'd ask you to look at that. General comments from the board members. Does anybody have any comments? I've got a couple of comments, as always. One, I want to wish Commissioner Cruth a happy birthday. It's his birthday today. You know, it's not often do we have birthdays on the day that we are working for the county.
Yes, it's wonderful to spend your birthday at Commissioners meeting.
So we have that. And it's also, you're in good company. It's my mother's 84th birthday.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
So that,
Yeah,
she's
happy birthday to her,
84
too.
years old today. So that I want to wish you a happy birthday. I know that we all wish you a happy birthday. And we have some great things going on in Cabarrus County. You know, we have a great staff. They put together a budget after tireless hours. I say it every year, but leaving my office late at night or coming in early in the morning and to see the lights on at Pam's office, Mrs. Dubois' office, Mr. Downs' office, and Mr. Day's office. I know they're working on the budget. Kalisha is keeping them in line, telling them what they need to do and make certain that they've covered all the areas, so that our appreciation from this board, I know, goes to each one of those members and what they did to put it together. It's 338 pages. It'll be some fun reading over the next couple of days, and we'll have some good discussion next week. I do encourage everybody to come out to our budget meetings next week to learn more about the county. And any other comments? Yes. Thank you, Commissioner.
Page 173.
Thank you. Commissioner Poole recommended, or reminded me, we have something very interesting, is Gilmore Chapel AME Zion Church. This church is 100 years old this year, founded in 1910. And they're having a conference, and they're having a recognition of their 100 years service, walking in God's favor. The church is planning a series of activities leading up to the May 23rd, 2010 anniversary celebration. That's one of the proclamations that we gave tonight. And there's also having a conference that is involved, that's centered around June the 3rd, so that if anybody's interested or is able to have time to get out there, I would certainly recommend you go out there. But the proclamation is very important to Gilmore Chapel Church, as well as many of the other denominations here in Cabarrus County, and I would call on everybody to consider, think about it, and think about them on May the 23rd for their 100th year celebration. Is there any other comments?
May I get a clarification on the appointments to the Food Council? Did the board want to table that by motion or by consensus?
We have a motion to table that until May the... We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And finally, yes, Commissioner Poole.
I was just going to comment, there are a lot of good things that go on in the county. Tomorrow evening, a number of members of my family and I are going to be learning all about composting. So there are a lot of things that the Cooperative Extension Office does. I think this is through the county services. But we're excited. we've got our work gloves. We're going to learn all about composting and everything else. So I would encourage any of our citizens to look on our website and see the different things that are available. Sign up for the email alerts and get more involved in the things that are going on in the county, because we have a lot of good things that are going on, and sometimes I think we know about it because, you know, we get reminded all the time, but not everybody is aware of all the good things going on. So think of me tomorrow evening. I'll be making some compost.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
You know, talking about that, I spent 30 minutes one night with David Goforth on TV talking about how to prune a crepe myrtle, and another 30 minutes with Mrs. Uten about how to cook Santa Fe chicken. Commissioner Minot.
Well, since we're talking about interesting things in the county, I had the opportunity to visit a wet prairie this week, which is out on Louis Souther's farm on Gold Hill Road. And a wet prairie is, they said, the last remaining original prairie land in the state of North Carolina. It has never been plowed. The University of North Carolina at Charlotte uses it as a study field for their botany students. And Mr. Souther, I believe, is planning to do something to preserve that property for perpetuity. And it was just absolutely fascinating to be able to go out there. You can't just walk out. I mean, they couldn't have everybody go, so I felt very privileged to be able to go with the Master Gardener group. Fascinating.
Wow.
Absolutely fascinating.
We have confirmation.
Ah.
There she is.
We got a picture. Now, if everybody will have a little bit of patience, I have 2 paragraphs that I need to read here in regards to announcement of settlement of litigation. Cabarrus County has settled the case of Marvell E. Daniels versus Cabarrus County Department of Health and Human Services, Tara Balcom in Cabarrus County, 09 CVS 4823, Cabarrus County Superior Court. This case involved a claim of malicious prosecution against Mrs. Balcom arising from an incident at the Cabarrus County Department of Social Services, in which Mrs. Balcom, an employee of CCDSS, believed the plaintiff falsely imprisoned Mrs. Balcom in an office. Mrs. Balcom obtained a warrant for the plaintiff's arrest, but plaintiff was acquitted. The case was vigorously defended by the county on the basis that none of the defendants was liable to the plaintiff. This was the second time the plaintiff had filed this case. She took a voluntary dismissal on the eve of dispositive motions in this first case, then timely refiled. The case sought unspecified damages in excess of $10,000. On advice of trial counsel, the county settled this matter for payment of $3,000 to plaintiff. This was a nuisance value settlement. Approval of the terms of the settlement was made by the commissioners in closed session as permitted by the open meetings law. The case has been dismissed and the matter is concluded. Announcement of this settlement is made pursuant to the open meetings law, North Carolina General Statute, section 143-318.11. Anything further before we go into closed session? Do we have a motion to go into closed session to discuss threatened or pending litigation and personnel matters?
So moved.
We will invite Mr. Cook in as well. I think that's understood.
I think we may
need to
be
invite anybody
having
else?
some folks from Compensation Claim Solutions that will be attending the closed session. And I don't know if Tony Harris is going to be there or not, but I understood that he was. I'm not sure exactly who from Compensation Claim Solutions is going to be attending. Is it just, okay, is it Larry? Okay.
Okay. So we'll have Mr. Larry Justice and Mr. Tony Harris invited in as well. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries. And this will conclude tonight's meeting. After our closed session, I do not anticipate any other business to be carried on by the county.
But we will
But we're recessing until May the 25th.